So my name is Barbara Boshin, and Shakra Yedapali is on as well, and we host the New Jersey Amazon Meetup. And then once we hit COVID, we started doing online sessions and also doing topical sessions, which we've been doing for the last 5 or 6 weeks. I want to thank everybody that's joining us tonight. What we are going to discuss tonight is customer service on Amazon. And the reason we're looking at this is because I think it's largely an overlooked area that can bring a lot more value to your business and what you sell. So Jocker and I made a little Q&A that he's going to ask me some questions. I'm going to ask him some questions, but feel free to, please put your questions in the chat and then we'll open it up for you so that you can ask the questions.
Yeah, it's the Jersey Amazon version of fireside chat. Barbara had this idea, like, let's at least talk about some of the basics that we follow. And, we talk about our own businesses. For people, most of you guys know Barbara, but for people who may not know, who may be watching this later, Barbara, you want to give 30-second introduction of what you do.
Sure.
And how long have you been selling on Amazon? And I'll do the same thing once
That's
you're
perfect.
done.
So I've been selling on Amazon since 2009. I started selling used stuffed animals and worked my way through the food chain from used stuffed animals, which was a great little business, to RA, OA. At one point I got suspended, so I then transitioned to wholesale because I felt that it was more stable ground. I still did some RA, but I'm pretty much out of that now. And then did private label. So we are now doing a wholesale private label business. We also thought it was important to be diversified given the suspension, kind of like, whoa, got really woke there with the suspension, that it was important to be diversified and sell on other platforms. And that led to us building software to do two things. One, to resell your stuff on Amazon onto Walmart, and that's called Co-Merchant. And also software that would help us sell even more on Amazon, and that's a program called EasyKey, and that is automated keywording for retail arbitrage, online arbitrage, and wholesale sellers who don't have the time to do optimization, A, and B, can't do it because the products they sell are owned by other people, so it's really difficult. So we found a way to do the keywording optimization super duper easy, and we've been really happy with the product. So if you have any questions about that, or Co-Merchant, let me know, or Walmart, let me know.
Awesome. Thanks, Barbara. So 10-second pitch. I don't have as much to talk about as Barbara does, but about myself. But so I've been selling on Amazon since 2015, so about 6 years now. And I started straight in FBA. I think by the time, from 14, I've been looking at it and finally pulled the trigger in 15. Pre-Amazon, so I've been full-time. I got full-time about 2 years into it. So 2015, third quarter I started, and by December we were like $50,000. Like, oh my God, like this is real. So I think a year and a half later, made it full-time. And since then, my background before Amazon was in finance and accounting, CFO roles in several places. So figured that was a good match. So I started like an accounting service geared towards Amazon sellers. So that's Jungle Books. That's been kind of primary focus for the last 2 years or so. So that's about me. So we will move on to Q&A. So Barbara, customer service, any business, customer service is number one, right? Like, customers, we don't have business, even though we don't own the customers technically. So we still have to service them. So, why do you think it's a really important topic? Because if you're a FBA seller, Amazon says they service the customer. So why do you think we should, as an FBA seller or even non-FBA seller, should care about Amazon, customer service?
Well, that's a really good point. Most of the customer service takes place on FBA, right? So Amazon takes care of most of it. Once in a while, you do get some direct, contact with the customer via messaging. They go to you instead of they going to Amazon. But it's so much more than just the typical customer service of I get, a question and I respond, or there's a return and I respond. There's so much more to representing yourself to the customer, which is really what customer service is. I find that, a lot of sellers don't understand, and it's Amazon opened the doors for all these people to sell on Amazon and expected them to be, or at least they expect us to grow into this, expected us to be all business people. Like, oh, they know how to run a business. They know what to do. They know this, they know that. And some, I don't know how many times I read in the Facebook posts, people are like, oh, I know I sent them the right thing. They must be trying to scam me. I'm like, well, that is not your problem. Your problem is that person has a problem. And no matter what way you look at it, it's not an attack on you, and it shouldn't even be about that. You've got to turn your brain inside out and think about, like, this person has an issue and I need to address it one way or another. And being defensive isn't going to do that. But even when you don't get that, you've got other areas to be concerned with. Your seller feedback, right? Every seller feedback we get, we respond to. And that's a way to do pre-purchase affirmation that they're buying something from someone, even though it's FBA, maybe going in there, although we do some merchant fulfilled, that pre-purchase, they can look at that and really understand that you care, right? I've seen some seller feedback responses, people only responding when they get bad feedback and basically telling the person it was their fault or that they fixed it and they should remove the feedback. And it's like, it's the worst. It tells me as a customer looking to buy from you that I don't want to. But it goes even beyond that. You've got questions when I don't think I know anyone, or very few people, that when they get Amazon's "can you answer this question" ever do. And that's something to really look at as well. And then your product reviews, you can't really respond to them anymore, but it's something that you have to be on top of all the time. So there's a lot of ways to minimize post-purchase remorse, pre-purchase hesitation, and then get them to keep coming back to you. But there's actual real evidence. I mean, I see in my seller feedback all the time, they appreciate how well we pack things. They have I love buying from my company because I know it's going to get here in good shape, or it's such a cute whatever. So there's lots of ways for you to influence that. It takes a little bit of work, but that's basically what marketing is, right?
So you brought up a couple of things that caught my eye in your answer. You talked about nobody answers question and answers, right? The questions are not answers. So what opportunities are there in the question and answers? Do you want to address that a little bit?
Yeah, well, Amazon. So if somebody were to ask you, what's the ingredients in this soap? You don't just answer vegetable oil, aloe, and something, and moisturizing, whatever. You don't just answer what the ingredients are. That's an opportunity for you to respond to that customer and say, thank you so much for asking. We are so proud to offer these soaps on Amazon because they're 100% vegan and they have this, this, and this. So you've taken a question. Now those questions go right underneath that product. So the next customer that comes in looks at the question and is like, wow, it's not just, vegetable oil and moisturizer aloe. These people really care about their business. So I know the product I'm getting is probably pretty good, because a lot of times, as a shopper, when I'm on Amazon and I'm looking at stuff, I'm like, what is that? Why is it so cheap? Or why is it such a weird listing? And why is that spelled wrong? And then I'll go down the bottom and other people seem to have a good experience. But I'll tell you, the questions are not gained like some of the reviews are, right? Because the people who manipulate the reviews probably don't answer the questions. So I feel pretty confident that when I see a response to a question, sometimes it's others, it's not just sellers responding to it, it's other buyers. So, I feel like that's an opportunity to provide customer service at a level most people ignore.
Yeah, just to expand that a little bit, there are two other things, right? As you know, Barbara, on the question and answers, there's an opportunity to throw in a bunch of keywords, not stuff keywords.
That's exactly true. I overlooked that.
But, if some activity, something is very important for you, make sure you mention it in the question and answer. The second thing is, from what I understand, and I don't know if it's still true, but when you put Google actually indexes it better when you search. So it's actually, you're getting a little bit more juice from that side as well.
And there's one thing I forgot. You can also do video answers now. Amazon is starving for video content. So you can do a video answer and show the image and then type all your information below it. So you get a double whammy for that too.
And the other thing, the reason it's very important to answer it as quickly as you can, and if you're tied up with a lot of other things, to have your VA answer that is, if you don't answer, someone else will, because Amazon will send that question. You may have gotten a question for your purchases, right? So they'll send it to everyone who bought it. So somebody will jump in. I see this so many times. The first answer that shows up is, I have no idea. I don't know this. I never had this problem, or I don't know the answer to you. Like why are you even answering? But they still did. So you're missing an opportunity. Your real answer is probably like, 5 notches down that nobody's. And the other thing is, the first answer may be completely wrong. Maybe a very negative answer, and you don't want that. So,
yeah, it's part of, that's one of our, we have to do a hygiene talk one day too. That's part of our morning hygiene, is to see if there's any questions that are in our email. And then we sort of keep track of that all day.
I have a question, if I may.
Sure.
Chakra, I think you mentioned about question answer keyword. I didn't know. Does it matter? Does Amazon picks up question and answer keywords? The words we use, does it matter for listing?
Google does.
It does?
Google looks at those words.
Google does, not.
I don't think Amazon does that so much in the search, because I think they've got so much content, but we don't really know, do we?
Yeah. So, Barbara is right on. Like, we don't know 100% certainty that they're not, because, the algorithm, who knows, there are a lot of people who claim to know the algorithm, but, I don't trust it. I put keywords at every opportunity I get, because nothing to lose, right? It's everything.
Right. And also you get, I always call it participation points, but you get participation points from Amazon. If you answer questions, if you submit videos, if you fix listings, if you care and feed your business, they give you more points. So if I'm somebody who answers, I don't know if this is in there, I'm just, guessing, but if I'm someone who has a product and you have a product and I have more images, I have more pictures, and I contribute video and I answer questions, Amazon says, okay, like whatever quotient they do to measure me as a valued seller, I'm higher up than someone who has a 90% rating and doesn't answer anything and has bad feedback. So, this is just, it's really part and parcel of what a good business will do.
And I can tell you, when I'm making purchase decisions as a shopper, if I have a question about it, a lot of times I just go down straight to the question and answer and type my question there and see if it pops up. So, a lot of the people make decisions. I don't know if there's any numbers to it, like if the conversion increases or not, but there's some chance. At least for me personally, I do that. So
I do the same.
And the other thing too with it is, once you answer the question, go up and look at your listing and see if that should have been in your listing. Like if someone asked what was the ingredients for the soap, I'm like, oh my God, we don't have the ingredients for the soap. Okay, that's, that one on our list, that all these soaps have to have their ingredients listed, whatever the 5th bullet is, kill that, put this ingredient list in.
Yeah, that's a great segue to my next question. So, how do you use the, feedback, seller messages, question and answers to your benefit, to improve the product? Like, what is your process? Like, how do you, is there an opportunity there?
So we're always looking at, and we're very aware, we always use the voice of the customer as well. So we're looking at what's, especially when we launch a new product, we're looking at what is the issue? What's the problem? Sometimes the packaging, they don't like our packaging, so we'll change that. Or we'll look at seller feedback and it broke. Well, why is it breaking? Because we're not, is that our packaging? Is that Amazon shipping? A lot of people say, oh, Amazon doesn't ship well. I'm like, well, you have to provide for that. You have to work around that. Yeah, you may be standing in a warehouse and dropping something 6 feet, it doesn't break, but is it going to get from your warehouse to Amazon's warehouse to one of their other warehouses to UPS, drop kick it to the front porch? It might not make it. You have to, we always, I told my prep guys, I was reading through some of our seller feedback and how good it was on all the packaging. And he was just like, he's like, thank you for letting me know that, because, it's a lot of work and it's tedious. And, after you've done the 7,000th box, you're like, oh, really need to box everything? It's so dumb. But yeah, you need to do that. And so we take all that information, and it comes, again, it's back to customer service, because the better it is, the more I'll sell, the less the returns there are. And, I think a lot of people make an ugly face at customer service, and it's actually a service to you. I mean, it might be stretching it a little bit, but, when you get that information back, respond.
So, we talked in general about, feedback and reviews and Q&A. So let's talk about, there are 2 types of feedbacks, right? Or, Amazon makes it 3, but let's call it 2, good and bad.
Yeah.
So,
and bad, and not bad, but it's still bad.
right. It's still bad for us, right? So, so let's talk about good reviews. How do you respond, Barbara? What's your process? Like, what do you do if you get a good response? You just move on happy, and what do you do?
No, every review we get, we respond to. And we've structured it so the VA knows. I used to do it, but after a while, I'm like, this probably could be done by a VA. I have control issues, so it takes me a while sometimes. But we structure out like, if they're saying I love it, there's not much place you can go with that, but you can say we're so happy that this is, exactly what you're looking for, or something similar to that, maybe not quite so specific like that, but looking at whatever their questions. So if they said, I love this, but I wish it were a little larger, it's a different one. It's still a positive feedback. And, we'll say, oh, well, it's size exactly, when we designed this, it was size exactly for a small child. Whatever the request, whatever the feedback is, we sometimes we just say, great, thank you very much. Sometimes we actually, if there's more meat in it, we'll address it. Like someone says, oh, this is a perfect thing for my granddaughter's christening. And then we'll say, congratulations. That's great news. So happy. Because what you're doing when you're writing all that is you're not speaking to that customer. They're probably never going to see the response you gave them to their feedback. I've never seen a response to my feedback. It's for the next customer looking at that feedback. And they can see 100% and they can see 5-star, 5-star, 5-star. But when they see the feedback mentions and they see that you're responding to it, I believe, and again, you can make this a process so it's not a burden. I believe that they're looking at going, oh, look at that. They answered every single feedback with a response. They really care about what they're selling and their customers.
So that's the positive feedback. Any lessons you can take from positive feedback, for product improvement or anything?
Of course.
Or next product ideas.
When they say, I love it, that's not going to do much with that. But sometimes they'll say, I really like this product, but I wish it came in different colors. Well, ding, ding, ding. That's a huge opportunity for us to look in what other colors might be. I've been able to go back to some of the customers when they've left feedback like that to elicit some more information. Like, well, what were you thinking? I'm like, I would really like this in black. I know it comes in silver, but I really like this in black because, it fits more with our farmhouse style or whatever. So we made it in black and it immediately ranked up with the silver one. So it was a huge win. So, those are some of the things that you can do. And it's not over the line because you're not actually asking the customer to go to your website or do anything that you're not allowed to do. You're actually having, like, Amazon would not have a problem with that.
Okay, great. So how about a bad review? What do you do?
A bad review, the first thing we do is we write to the customer and we say, we just noticed that you left a review and it appears that you did not have a good experience. We totally understand. And there's a process that goes with this, and it goes with our messaging too. We'd like to make this up to you and improve your experience if we can. I want to thank you for leaving the feedback so we know that there was an issue. And then the last sentence is an explanation of some type. Please get back, please let me know how we can improve your experience. Sometimes these things happen because of shipping or sometimes these happen for wear, but we want to make it right for you. Then we go to Amazon and ask to remove it, but not until we've actually addressed the concern right to the customer.
Where do you write that, Barbara? Do you
in the seller feedback, you can reply
to be seen?
I actually have to see that because I'm going to go look at that real quick, but I think you can reply right there.
You can reply, but are you communicating?
Then we click the order number and communicate that to the customer directly. We reply to that. First thing we do is go to the customer via their order, contact them, and do everything I just said. Then we'll go to seller feedback, and we will, for the bad one, we'll write a modified version of that. We're so sorry you had a bad experience. We'll reach out to help. We keep it kind of short and sweet, so it doesn't look like we're being defensive to other people who might be looking at that. And then we ask Amazon to remove it. But if they don't, at least we've already set the ball in motion. Because a lot of people are like, well, why don't you start by asking them to remove it? Then you don't have a problem. Like, oh no, I still have a problem. It just doesn't look like I have a problem. I still need to find out what happened with that customer and talk to them and let them know that there was, is it my fault? Was it their fault? Whoever's fault it was, and help them through this. Half the time we just say, like, listen, if it broke on the way, that totally makes sense. Please call Amazon at this phone number and they will refund you.
So Barbara, with regards to that, I have a quick question. When I deal with customers a lot and I message customers I try to message back and forth. Mm-hmm. I find that a lot of customers don't realize or don't know that Amazon even has a messages feature. And mm-hmm. I mean, I get messages all the time. I get an email, but whenever I send customers, a lot of times, I'd say probably 50% of the times, I get no response from the customers. And I have no way to reach them.
This is marketing blocking. So what you do in that case, so I know I get messages from customers, I write back to them and they're like, why? And they write back to me and say, why aren't you responding?
Right. I sometimes I'll respond 3-4 times and they're like, why aren't you answering me? Why aren't you answering me? And I'm like, I did.
Because they have marketing block on. So Amazon considers any email except the ones that come directly from them to be marketing emails. So what you do in that case, and this is how when we get to messages, what I always do, but let's just kill it here. I write the response to them in Amazon and I send it out to them. But then I copy their email address. It's an Amazon email address. I put it in my email, my business email, and then I copy the response. And then in the subject line, I write important in capital letters, Amazon order.
So if you put that whole long string? Where is that? I didn't know that they have.
In the message, when you get a message, look at their email address. It's 978 characters long.
Okay.
And it's obviously it translates into their real email address. If you do that in your, business email, personal email, and send it to them, they will get it.
So that'll forward to their actual email, whatever they
Right.
have
It
blocked
doesn't.
on you
It
on
does.
Amazon.
It circumvents the marketing block.
Interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah, that's because it's once in a while, I'm like, someone this person keeps saying I call them, and it's like, oh, because you forgot. Oh, I forgot I have to do that. Right.
I mean,
We've almost been doing it with every response now, even.
I've literally tried with the whole calling, where you call Amazon and then put in the number and then put in the zip code and whatever. I've even gotten to the point where with one or two bad customers, I've had to look them up on Facebook or Google them or try and find them. And I'm like, I shouldn't be spending 2 hours trying to find a customer over a $50 order.
Right. And I think Amazon thinks, well, you should just let that go. What difference does it make if you're 99 or 98? It's I want to be 100 at all times. It's not always possible. I might ride 99 for a couple of weeks till I get some more feedback. But, I also think too that if I were to have any issue with Amazon with a customer, they can look through the thread and see that I was trying. So if it's something maybe there's some weird product, what happened, what's up, somewhere during Q4, somebody labeled all my stuff. It was a gift set with 2 dolls and a little puppy dog. And the doll also comes by itself, and they switched the labels. So one of my people, so all of a sudden I'm all these people are screaming at me. I'm like, what did I do? It dawned on me that they had been mislabeled. So we had to do that, simultaneous thing and get it out there.
One thing I want to add, Barbara, is, I'm sure most of our viewers know this, but just want to distinguish between a product feedback that you get in your backend and a seller review. And the product
review and a seller feedback.
Seller feedback. Sorry, I got it upside down. Over 2 hours with the tax season coming up, guys. Sorry. So on the reviews, it's practically impossible to get rid of them. They do once in a while, right?
It is, and it's why you want. So a lot of people have stopped sending requests for seller feedbacks and reviews because it all ends up is getting bad. It's it depends on how
your product. Yeah.
Depends on your product for sure, but it also depends on how you talk to somebody. If you talk to them about what you need instead of talking to them about what they need or how they can be a contributing member. A lot of times if I ask people for a review, I said, it's not for me, it's for other people looking at this product to see how you felt about it. It's not because it'll help me sell more product, because nobody cares how much. No customer in the world cares if I sell more products.
So that's one, right? And then on the feedback side, Barbara, I don't know if I'm sure you know this, but once you reply to a feedback, Amazon will not remove it. If you want to get rid of it, I know the philosophy is, hey, if you just remove it, it just looks like we have no problem, right? But we have a problem.
Right, it's behind the scenes, yeah.
Right. But the other issue is if you reply to a feedback, Amazon says, well, you already addressed it, so we're not going to remove it. So if you want to get rid of it, the other philosophy is, hey, you know what, request for a removal. And you also know who the customer is. You can always reach out to them.
That's true.
Yeah. Because once you reply, I had this myself happen to me.
I don't get too many bad seller feedbacks, but
yeah, rarely.
Mostly they get auto removed by Amazon, and I will say, other than when it's an Amazon, I didn't get this, where is it? Because Amazon got lost or whatever. And I will note that I will ask them to remove it because it really isn't my fault. When it's my fault, when I know Amazon's not removing that.
Do you open the case? I'm so sorry.
No,
Yes.
No worries. Go ahead.
Did you open the case to ask them to remove it, or how do you do that?
So
Yes,
it used to be, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, no, you do it. Go ahead.
Yeah, it used to be that, you had to do that. Now they put a convenient button. But what I found that is, for the most part, that button is a bot on the other side, right? Most of Amazon is bot on the other side.
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed. I never used it. Yeah.
So they see a certain keyword, they immediately remove it, right? So when I was real busy season, when I'm not monitoring this, my VA would say, well, I tried and they did remove it, move on, right? She checked her box and she moved on. I go back a week later, not that there are that many, but holiday season, there's so much more sales that, as a number, it slightly ticks up, even if it's they have 1% or point.
The people shopping at holidays have a different expectation, and they're generally, a large percent of them are not the people who shop every day. These are emergency shoppers.
So what happened is, I'm well, you have to go back to Amazon, then open a case. And most of the time, if it's a legitimate case, then somebody reviews it and they get rid of it.
Yeah.
If the bot doesn't work, they go to the next step. You just don't have to just move on and take the bot's word for it. Sorry. So go ahead, Kate.
I have one more unrelated question about the feedbacks. Do we ask them? Do you? I know Amazon says that after you ship the item, they ask for feedback. Do you still ask? Because it's been a while. I'm trying to ask and it doesn't let me. I don't know why.
Feedback.
Oh, you mean on the little button on the orders?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so
it's
that has to be in a certain window before you can ask. The Amazon wants to make sure that they've had it in long enough, that they actually received it, because sometimes they, what the expected date and whether it's delivered and the timing from the tracking may be off, and they give them a little time to use it, get it out of the box and whatever, but not so long that, it was like a month and a half ago. And
after
you're like,
5
"Why
days
you-"
or something. Do you
Yeah.
do that like manually? You
I
ask
do
them, or do
not
you use any
use
tool?
that. I do not use that process. I think it's valuable, but I use an external service that lets me customize the message, because I have some of them even have like we sell some of the stuff that we sell all the time. I have care instructions at the bottom of the email. So I'll say to them, thank you very much for purchasing this. Hopefully by now you've received it. If you have any issues and concerns, please let me know. We'd also be happy for you to leave a product review so other people can understand, know if you have it's a good experience, a good product for you. Oh, and by the way, at the end of this email, there's some care and feeding instructions for the product, whatever it may be. Or if I don't have something like that, I might throw a recipe out at them because we sell some food products, something like that. So we've tailored some of those. Again, more customer service after post-purchase affirmation. So, they might be less, I don't like it, but there was a nice email, so it's not that bad. I guess I'll keep it.
Okay, so you use third party. You don't use Amazon.
I use Seller Labs.
I was just going to ask you, but you mentioned like because you get the points or whatever, the customer service thing afterwards, but as they don't go ahead and leave the feedback, do you find that, like what percentage do you notice like an actual response to that? Like if you start messaging customers or sending that request, like you actually notice a response, or I feel like it almost invites them to complain more.
People say that, and I honestly don't see it. And maybe I have some magic wording in my email or whatever. But it's so rare that I get complaints. I mean, I may get, they may not like, if it's like a food product, we sell a lot of gourmet food. Like, I didn't like this, it was too salty. There's not much I can do about that. But if they got a dented can or it was broken on arrival, there's a lot I can do and a lot I can help with. And I feel like when I send that note out to them and people are, and you know what, it's also like, when you remember you were a little kid and your dad yelled at you and you felt bad and you were so sad, and then he would have to say what a good boy you are like 20 more times before the one bad, when he yelled at you one time, is evened out. And I think a lot of people react to a negative comment. Oh, look, I'm all getting a negative seller feedback. And it's like, well, maybe because you're just internalizing, you're taking it personally. Like a lot of people are getting mad at customers for not liking their product and wanting to return it. Like, I don't like this thing, it was terrible, and a lot of customers respond very angrily, and because they think they're going to get, screwed. They think they're going to get stuck with this thing and they're not going to be able to return it, and they're not going to be legitimate, and you're not going to be a good seller. So, there's a whole process that we'll go through of how we address that with customers that diffuses all the anger. And I have turned an insanely upset person into one of my biggest supporters just through customer service.
Yeah,
But you got to be able to take your ego and leave it on the table, because boy.
Yeah, just one thing
Received
to, as a
points.
percent, right? So it used to be a lot higher since Amazon stopped with their opt-out.
Yeah.
The percentage has declined a little bit. But here's the thing, though. I don't know, Barbara, if you remember, for like when they first started this opt-out, it was crazy. We were getting so many things back, and
Right.
Seller Labs and those guys built in this, blacklist or whatever, where we are not sending them again. So, all those things, and that kind of subsided over time, just peaked and come down. But the second thing is, you can't hide from the customers, by not sending them anything, by not asking reviews. Two things is, we're not confident about our product, and either that or we should always hope to improve the product based on the feedback. That's, to me, like, I rather hear something bad. There's some impossible things that you can do, right? I had like one gentleman that said, "Oh, the handle is too short. I need, I'm a big guy. I need bigger handle." Okay, I really can't do much about it, right? So and then, and then I had one gentleman like, "I'm in New Jersey. It's late. I expect you to come and deliver it to my house. It's in Newark." And I'm like, okay. So, there are some people who are like really, and he was so angry about it that I'm like, I probably won't come back if I come there. He's probably like getting his gun ready.
I'll meet you at Newark Airport in Terminal C.
So
There'll be a
I actually
brown box
looked
with
up,
a red bow on it. That's for you.
back in the day when you actually see their address and everything. I actually looked up his address. He was honestly pretty close, but like, yeah, like I'm not about to go there. So I'm like, forget it. So anyway, so not to get distracted, or we can start talking about a lot of stories here, but we've been selling for so long. But the main thing, Barbara, from what I take from what you're saying is, number one, just admit the customer is right. It's cost of doing business, right? There are going to be a small percent that are abusive, but for the most part, they're genuine customers. They bought from you, they paid you money. Second thing is, make sure, not take it personally. and address it as professionally as you can, even though you may be screaming and punching a punch bag right next to your desk when you write the email.
Totally allowed to. You're totally allowed to do that.
Yes, put all that behind. An email should be completely professional, and if possible, admit the mistake. Even if you think it's not your mistake, just say sorry and move on, because it's cheaper to do that than to get a bad review. Like Barbara was saying, to negate one bad review, you may need to get 5 good reviews or whatever Amazon algorithm is, right?
No, it's just how you feel about it. I think you feel more violated by a bad review. Like, oh, they liked it, yay. Oh, they liked it, yay. Oh, they're happy. Hey, why don't they like it? What's wrong with them?
Yeah, I had a partner when we first, I think he was always suspicious that, they are returning it or they're asking for a refund because they're just lying. They must have gotten it. I'm like, maybe true, but I rather add that to my cost of doing business than worry about if he's lying or not, because who cares, right? Like, they're selling 20,000 items a year. What do you do? Like, you're going to get 1 or 2 or 10 or 15.
No, that being said, when they do return, like we sell a 24-inch teddy bear and someone returned a 16-inch teddy bear and same color. But I was like, we don't let that go. That I like someone goes, oh, you just this cost to do. No. Like, it's one thing if they return the teddy bear that we actually sold them and they ripped the tags off and now I can't do anything about. I can't sell it. It's entirely another thing when they're, take a $30 thing, a $10 item and try to give it back for a $30 item or whatever. Like that doesn't stand. But so I do get angry sometimes.
So, we talked about, different types of reviews or information that you can get from the customers. We talked about, good and bad. How do you respond? Barbara, you're, 7-figure plus seller. Oops, did I give that away? Just kidding.
Oh, I thought you said a 7-year plus seller. I was like, yeah, I know, I've been doing this forever, but
I'm just kidding. Okay. But, so, you get probably lots of reviews, in all buckets, right? Plus, minus. How do you make the process easy, right? Like, I have a little bit on my, I know how I do it. I want to hear from you, and then I'll add whatever from my process. So,
well, I think you can get really, and this is something in the beginning I got really stuck with. I'm like, every email, I was like, oh, there goes 30 minutes. I'm going to have to spend responding to this. What do they want? You have to read the thing, and it's like you're trying to tailor your response to it. And I got very frustrated because I was doing that thing in the beginning with like, well, there's nothing wrong with this product. I sent you exactly what you asked for. What are you getting upset for? Like, I'd be very defensive and very angry. And I thought, it's gotta be something better than this. I need to do some research and figure out. And I don't remember how I came across it, but it was a really interesting story. It's exactly these process that Starbucks originated, which I was just, my mouth is like, that's genius. So imagine you're in a Starbucks and somebody bumps into another customer, or one of the servers bumps into a customer, they spill coffee down the front of them. What do you do? Well, the first thing you do is you say, you start giving them napkins to help them clean up. Meanwhile, and you say, I know you got coffee on you. I'm so sorry. I totally get this. This is terrible. And that is called listen and acknowledge. So the person's screaming, you acknowledge that they're screaming by saying, I'm so sorry. I know you've got coffee all over you. I'm so sorry. It's terrible. And you acknowledge them. And that process is really important. I'm hearing you. I know you had a bad thing happen to you. And I agree that this is a problem. And then you take action. So when Starbucks does, is they got the other guy that like everything stops. Everybody gets on this problem in the whole store. So meanwhile, you had coffee spilled down, you're out your coffee, right? So somebody's getting you your money back and somebody else is making your replacement coffee. So whatever it was, so they're, and then within seconds, meanwhile you're cleaning yourself up, they're taking action to correct that problem. They can't actually undo it, but they can make it better. So you get your money back and you get a free coffee. And then the last thing they do is they explain how this could happen. I'm so sorry, we should have put the lid on better. From now on we're gonna do this, whatever. And they may do some engagement type thing, but each one of these things, each one of these actions spells the word latte, which is kind of cute. Listen, acknowledge, take action, thank you, and explain. And I sort of like really bonded with that whole process and said, I can do the same thing. So the first thing I say, and it's templated, is I just received your email and I totally understand. I don't say I totally understand. You're an idiot. I may think that. Because a lot of times people tell me stuff is broken and they don't know how to hit the on button. So once we tell them the on button needs to be turned on, then they're like, good. But I say, just received your email and I totally understand. And then we take action. Of course, we will take this back for full return. And I'm so sorry. And then so sorry that there was an issue. Then we thank them for reaching out to us and letting us know. So we keep this in control, right? We don't want this to go to Amazon. It just gives them a refund and, slams us with a bad metric. And then we explain how this could happen. So in the case of that toy, I explained at the end, sometimes customers may have, the batteries may be dead, or the on button isn't on, or the battery break, there's like a thing that sticks between the battery charge, isn't there. or they haven't pressed the foot in the front to activate the toy. I understand this is probably not your issue, but I just wanted to bring it up because that's something that's occurred in the past. I never hear from them again because they realized that they didn't turn the button on. But, or I may say, we are so sorry, we're so busy, we have new people. I may say, but the important thing is that explanation of how the mistake could have happened. Like, give you another example of take ownership of it. We may have mislabeled something and sent it out to you. So first thing is say, we totally understand. I'm so sorry that this happened. Then we say, we will send you the right one right away. You can keep the one that you have and dispose of it as you like. Thank you for letting us know. And then the last sentence might be, and we have a couple different ones, depends on sort of how they're interfacing with us. The last statement may be, we have new personnel due to, I think, we have new personnel and they weren't familiar with the differences in the products, but we will go back and train them. So it's like a mini plan of action to your customer.
That's awesome. So, you for your, VAs, your internal employees, you have a very customized process that you acknowledge, right? How do you make sure they follow that?
Well, I know you do this too, is I still look at all the questions and I still look at all the answers. They also have a little flow chart, like if it's something that went to them and they said it's the wrong thing, do this. If it's something they said to them and it doesn't work, do this. If it's something, then we have all the different things there. We sell a lot of customized products and people want to return them because they entered the name incorrectly. They, forgot an E or forgot an I. And we have a very nice email that you respond to for that because it can't be returned, but we will do other things to help you. So you spelled it wrong. We will give you like $20 off and like do it for break even or whatever it is to help them. But, we basically have all these things and they have an if then, process flow to pick the template that works for them.
Awesome. Yeah. So, we do something very similar. Like you said, we started out, I think initially I was doing it every day. Then I found it too difficult. So, I would sit on every Saturday morning and start, replying to all the feedback and everything. That was just crazy after, a couple of months. So what I did was I started looking at different, like they were very similar responses, right? So I started, right, okay, for this product, this is a very typical response. So I literally, at that time, Amazon did not have the facility to create templates online. Right. So
Okay.
Google Sheets with, top line was like, hey, this is the response for this. And literally the whole thing was written. They just had, if you have variations, they had to replace the SKU or ASIN or whatever, or the name, whatever those things are highlighted, right? So they have that. So that was the system I was using for a little while. Now Amazon has, then I think a couple of the Managed by Stats and those guys, they have some of the templates done. Now Amazon is actually giving their own templates, so which we use. We basically transferred everything we had onto the Amazon platform so that we have those templates. So for every set of products which are similar, we have a set of templates. So that's how we kind of calculate.
That's even more refined than we do.
Yeah.
For seller feedback, we have the comment, and then the VA can choose from 6 responses. But she can't say the same one all the time. She has to pick a different one so it looks real.
Yeah, and then we all have some tips. Like you said, we have like a chart with tips. Like if it's Christmas time, don't forget to wish them. If it's Easter time, whatever it is, right? Like if it's a Mother's Day, Father's Day, whatever it is, make sure you check the date. If it's close enough, they have to add that in. It may not be in the template because you don't want to send it to the wrong
Always
time.
afraid to do anything like that. I don't want to wish anybody a happy holiday. I don't celebrate holidays. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Forget Christmas or Hanukkah or anything like that. I was like,
yeah, it's like midsummer
enjoy the
and don't
winter
miss
season.
Christmas, right? So we have that little thing we throw in, and but still, your personality has to come through, right? Like that's hard to templatize. For example, you notice that email is Duke fan 142. Older days where you could actually see some of that stuff. And now you can't, right? In those days, you throw in like a little bit, hey, I hope you caught the game, 2% lead the last month, something. You throw in your little bit of, customization there, but that's hard to templatize, right? So
Right.
That's something we talk to the VA all the time. Like, hey, you know what? Like, just keep up with a little bit of news so that you can put throw in a little bit of pop culture in there, right? Now, it's not always necessary, but sometimes, depending on the other emails tone, you could do that. Just makes it a little lighter, a little better, a little personality in there, so that it looks like coming from a real person and not like some machine throwing something.
Right.
So Barbara, that's all I have. Do you have any other thoughts? If Adam has a question here. What if Amazon is the one creating the problems? Oh, sorry.
If you want, I can just.
Yeah.
There you go.
I'm here. I might as well listen.
Yeah.
So you were talking about engraving, Barbara. So I'm having an issue. One of my main issues. So we're on a group of listings where there are multiple sellers on the same listing, and one of the sellers went and created a separate item just entitled engraving. It's just a pink picture with the word engraving, and Amazon says, oh, a lot of these, a lot of people would probably like this item engraved. So the original lister didn't put it like a bundle. He didn't mention it at all in the listing, but Amazon puts it underneath as the people who bought this frequently buy this together. So someone's buying an item from me and then engraving from another vendor. And then I'm getting a ton of returns because the customer doesn't realize that when they're clicking, they just click buy now. They don't,
Right.
half the people don't even
So
know
are
that
they
they're actually
getting
buying it from
two-
Amazon. They think
What-
they're buying it from,
What's the engraver? What are they
So-
engraving? What is the intent of that listing?
So there's like, I mean, you know what we sell. We sell the cremation urns and all different things. So if there's like, let's say we have the one that's been causing us the most problems is a long rose shape. It's a small little keepsake urn. And on the
Mhm.
stem, on the leaf, on the stem, there's a little empty space like on the brass where you can
wait.
personalize it.
Oh, I understand what you're saying, what the product does, but so if I'm looking at this and I see the rose and an urn and a box, and then the fourth product is engraving.
It doesn't show it in the pictures. It doesn't mention it in the listing itself, in the description, in the bullet points, but
Mhm.
Amazon lists it underneath as, oh, customers who bought this have also bought this. And it just shows the little box engraving. So people click buy it, for the product, and then they click for the engraving and they add the engraving and they think it's going to the same person. They think it's
I
going to the
have to
same
look
vendor.
at this with you to understand because I don't know what is the engraving person doing?
So we can do the engraving if
I
we
understand,
got
no,
the
but what is
engraving.
he, when you, let's say they don't buy the urn from you and they just buy the engraving, what are they getting?
Nothing. That's the point. They created that item specific to link to existing products. And Amazon is just bundling it together, saying, "Oh, since you bought this, you might want engraving on it." And then we get it. We get the order, but we have no idea. They don't message us and say, "This is what I want engraved." I don't get
Right,
a payment for
right.
the engraving. I don't even know. And then they get it, and I get an automatic return request, and it becomes
Do me a
auto
favor,
authorized.
just because I've never seen anything like this before, send me one of the ASINs and I'll take a look at it and I can help you figure it out.
Yeah, because we've reported it as inaccurate listing,
Mhm.
and we get nothing. No response from
Yeah.
Amazon at all.
Yeah, I think we have to figure it out. And I think
Yeah, maybe go in as a customer, Barbara, and see what they're seeing.
that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
And I think because it sounds to me like, how much is the engraving product?
So the engraving is like $29.99.
Right.
The product itself is like 65 or 69, something like that. But then when they open the return request, it's not we don't even get a request like to authorize because they say it's missing parts. So Amazon auto authorizes it.
Well, it is. It's interesting. And then so Amazon, I wonder if they just return well, they must have to refund both pieces, right?
Well, that's what I say. I try like you said, I reach out to the customer and I say, I'm sorry to hear about, the issue. Just to, we understand, blah, blah, blah.
So the short answer is whose parent does do you own it's probably more complex than this, but let's try. Do you own the parent child?
No, so the original lister owns the listing. We jumped on the listing.
Okay. So this is so annoying. I would maybe start by opening a case, getting Amazon to call you, and then ask them to help you remove an inappropriate variation.
Right. So that's the thing.
Have you
It's
tried
not.
that?
Well, we opened the case and we tried to get someone to call us. Nobody did call us. But it's not a variation because it doesn't show it in the listing part itself. It shows it underneath.
I got to see it. There's no other way to do it. I got to
Like
see it.
FBT, like frequently bought together.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for me, yeah.
Frequently bought together. So Amazon
them
is
it for me
basically
so we can figure
suggesting
out
my
this.
competitors' products to
Yeah.
match with mine.
Yeah, I need to see that. I've never heard anything like that. It sounds like a busted custom.
Basically.
And then I don't understand how that functions. So if you can PM me the ace. So look
Yeah,
at
I'll
it.
send you some info on it.
All right, Barbara, we're coming up on an hour, so I'm gonna
Okay,
start the recording. And then if you want to hang on for a few minutes, you can do that.
sure.